आप सुन रहे हैं एबीसी रेडियो WWTR 1170 AM ब्रिज वाटर, आपकी चॉइस।
एबीसी रेडियो आपकी चॉइस 1170 AM।
Good afternoon, friends. You are listening to EBC Radio 1170 AM Aapki Choice, and I'm your host Alka. You can listen to EBC Radio through our online ebcmusic.com, or you can download our app, which is Android and iOS EBC Radio free download. And also you can talk to Alexa and ask her to play EBC Radio 1170 AM, and Alexa will certainly play. Today I have a very, very special guest in the studios, and he is working very, very hard, and we'll be hearing him a lot in a few seconds. So let me tell you who he is. He's Raj Goyle, and Raj Goyle is the founder of Phone Free New York and the board chair of the Five Borough Institute, a leading think tank in New York City dedicated to solving public policy issues facing the New York City metro area. Goyle has an extensive career in politics and advocacy, including 4 years of service as a state representative in the Kansas Legislature, where he was one of the first Indian Americans elected to office in the country. Raj is also one of the co-founders of Indian American Impact, the leading Indian American advocacy and political organization in the United States. He has worked as a civil rights lawyer at the American Civil Liberties Union and was CEO and co-founder of Bodhala, a legal artificial intelligence company. His commentary and writings have appeared widely, including in the New York Times, Fox News, and NPR. He and his wife, Monica Arora, live in New York City with their 2 beautiful teenager daughters. A very warm welcome, Raj, on EBC Radio. How are you doing?
Alka, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for that very kind introduction, particularly about my daughters.
Yes, they are precious. I have 2 daughters too, so they are the most precious.
I see. How old are they?
Well, let's not get there. You're going to reveal my age with that, so we don't want to do that.
That is true. My daughters are 13 and 15. So
fantastic, such a beautiful age, and, joyful and little scary, but fun time with them.
Well, my 13-year-old was up at midnight, and we told her she could do that because the new Taylor Swift album, of course, dropped. So I am positive there are many blurry-eyed teenage girls throughout America today.
Yes, definitely. So, well, first of all, I want to congratulate you on all your achievements. What I just read a little bit of your bio, and it's amazing the work you have done and you are doing, and the mission you have coming forward is like, I would say we all as an Indian have to be very, very proud.
Oh, well, thank you very much. That's kind of you to say, but I, of course, tip my hat to many, many people in the community. There's so many things we should be proud of as a community, and, I applaud you and your family for building this business, and, doing anything from scratch is very, very hard, and I'm very excited to be running for the New York State Comptroller. It's a very, very powerful office. It's one of the most powerful state executive jobs in America. And right now people are hurting. It's a very tough time with how expensive life is, with all the political tumult and controversies we have. And right now the person who has this position for 20 years as sort of an Albany insider is wasting and squandering that power. So one of the most important things I think we can say as Americans and as South Asian Americans, which is we need to use political power to help people live better lives.
Definitely. As you said, it's the most difficult time right now. Everybody, like whoever we talk to, they are, just talking, I don't know what's going to happen. So the time is truly very, very bad right now. So Raj, tell me now, I know comptroller. You are standing for New York State Comptroller. Can you tell a little bit what is Comptroller and why are you running?
Yeah, so a comptroller is actually Punjabi for Raj Goyle. No, I'm just kidding. No. Comptroller is the most powerful office you've never heard of. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I explain to people is that the political establishment almost likes to have you not know about these things. It's such a powerful job. So in New York State, it controls almost a $300 billion pension fund. And that pension fund is there to secure the retirements of over 1 million people, almost 1 million people of retirees and active people working for the state system in New York. Mm-hmm. So it's got enormous political power. It's also the state auditor. So there's hundreds of auditors, and that office has a constitutional mandate to actually review all the dollars that are spent in New York State to make sure that there isn't waste, fraud, and abuse, that it's being used in the way it's intended to help people live better lives. And as you just mentioned, Ulka, the way that you say anecdotally people are struggling at this time in their lives, mm-hmm. right? That office could be used to build affordable housing all over the state. And instead the incumbent is building housing in Florida and Chicago and trying to and have very expensive investments out of New York. That right now, our community is being targeted by Donald Trump and by ICE. Mm-hmm. Of course the Latino community is on the forefront of this fight, and our heart goes out to them. Also, the South Asian community has been very badly affected by these raids. Donald Trump promised to combat illegal immigration, and he's out there arresting legal immigrants. Right. We have so many immigrants in our community. Somebody last night called me, a cousin of mine, and was worried if his green card would be revoked.
Right. I mean, I've been noticing people have been sending little text messages here and there that carry your ID all the time with you. You never know when you could be stopped, and, you need to show the ID. There's no such thing like, okay, I don't have it with me, it's at home. So they will just take you.
That's right.
So that's...
the stories will break your heart. There was a ICE agent who threw a woman to the floor and she had to go to the hospital. They've just taken families in the middle of the night. And now the Supreme Court has said that you can arrest somebody, or that ICE can apprehend somebody based on how they look. So now, as a South Asian community, how is that going to affect us? I'll tell you a little story. I was at a Beyonce concert in New Jersey at MetLife. And, this is a little anecdote, not a huge deal, but there was a rain delay. So the concert ends late. So it's 2 a.m. Everyone's trying to get back to the city or get out of the stadium. 30 people asked me how much it was to get a ride to the city. Why'd they ask me? Because they assumed I was an Uber driver.
Oh, my God.
Because 98% of the drivers in New York are South Asian.
South Asian, yeah.
And the vast, vast majority are men. And so, these people, maybe they had been drinking, maybe they hadn't, but and of course, I wish I had a car. I don't even own a car. And so, that's how appearances can deceive. Right. And so now ICE can go around and arrest anybody. So we have a real challenge right now. The New York State Comptroller is an amazingly powerful job to help people live better lives. And I'm very, very excited to run for this. And we're confident we're going to be victorious next June in the primary.
Yes, and I wish you all the best for that, because what is going on right now is not a good picture, So we all, even the citizens, you'd never know, citizen or green card or H1 or whatever status you are with. You don't know what is in their mind and what documents you're carrying and who can just take you away,
Yeah, and this is not America where people should be, if somebody is committing a crime, doing something harmful to others, we should absolutely, we're the first people to stand up and say that should be taken care of, and that's the role of law enforcement and Border Patrol. But this is not where people who are here legally and lawfully and abiding and contributing to society, no matter what their status, they should not be apprehended and made to be fearful by the government. And Donald Trump knows what he's doing. Donald Trump is explicitly coming after, there's an emerging sort of battle in MAGA and in Trump land, where Steve Bannon and others are very deliberately coming after Indians, very deliberately coming after, one of the things that's very disgusting is that if you go on Twitter and on social media, they use an analogy, Olka, where they say that South Asians smell.
But
And
Raj,
they
if you
yeah.
look, sorry to cut you, but if you see,
No.
it's coming after Indians. Like if you look at the like multi-billion companies, every large company you see, there is an Indian CEO or CFO or somebody of Indian descent is sitting there and running the brains, the hard work. Indians have it.
There is no question that the South Asian and the Indian American success story has been just that. Mm-hmm. And also what we find is that, yes, at the highest levels of the Fortune 100, the success has been amazing. But look at all our taxi drivers, the backbone of the middle class, the bodega owners, everybody look at your business. You have a thriving media property, that you started from scratch. I started a company from scratch. My parents they had $10, but they had medical degrees, and they settled in Wichita, Kansas. Yep. And nobody would refer them patients. And so, the funny thing is my mother, she practiced medicine with a bunch of Filipino American doctors because really the kind of power structure when they got to Wichita wouldn't refer them patients. And this is such an American story. By the end of my mother's medical career, she was servicing almost 95% Vietnamese American patients.
See.
And so there's an entire, as you and I know, community and a whole world of America that isn't really reflected on television and isn't reflected in sort of the popular culture. But it's a really, really important part of the American story, and that's why I'm very excited to be running for this office.
Yes. Now let me ask you, if you're elected, and you have been the first Indian American ever elected statewide in the state of New York, so why is it more important now than ever for you to run for office as an Indian American?
I would be, of course, extremely proud of that fact, and I was one of the first Indian Americans, Asian Americans ever elected in America, now 20 years ago. But I will say this, Elko, which is I'm running to be very aggressive, I have a very aggressive agenda to help all New Yorkers live better lives. Mm-hmm. I'm 50 years old. I started a business. I sold a business. I've been in government. I've had an interesting and varied career, and I've been proud to be a leader in for most of my career. And what I've learned is that we really are better off as a nation and as a community when we're all viewed in this together. And so, I do think that the diversity of New York should be reflected in our government. There's a saying, Olka, I don't know if you're familiar, but in Albany, it used to be called 3 men in a room used to decide the budget. It used to be the head of the Senate, the head of the Assembly, and the governor. And those were always 3 white guys. Yes. Well, now it's actually 2 women, and of the 3, 2 are women and 2 are black. And so that's a very that's a lot of change. And I do believe that no matter what Donald Trump says, diversity is a strength. You get different perspectives and opinions. So I'd be happy if that happened. But I'm focused like a laser on making sure that we help every single New Yorker have more money in their pension, access to better housing, access to universal child care, protected from junk fees and scams. That's my agenda.
That is fantastic. And I know, like New York, when anybody come from outside of USA, they feel like New York City is the place to. When they think they're going to USA, New York City is in their mind. So
100%.
So that city should be like, always on top, and people feel so comfortable walking on the streets and, being there. And it should not be like the way it is right now.
No question, and I think that there's a lot of obviously excitement about the change that's happening in city government in New York, and obviously there's a very good chance that there will be a South Asian new mayor, South Asian American new mayor of New York City. So things are changing, and I think that and I agree with you, Olka, that right now New York is not where it should be. Right now New York is controlled by Albany insiders and people who don't do much with the political power they've been given. And I have to say, regardless of anyone's background, that really pisses me off, if I could say that, which is like, to have political power and to hold to something so precious on behalf of the people and to not use it, no matter you may disagree with somebody's view or their policy, but at least they should use power to enact things they think will be better for people's lives. And that's why I'm running.
Very good. So now tell me, like comptroller we are talking. So New York City has the same comptroller for last 20 years. So lastly...
New York State.
Sorry, New York State. And
yes.
So lastly, what's been going wrong and why are you running now? I know we heard a little bit...
Sure.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, the incumbent, Tom DiNapoli, has this, again, enormous power, and he does nothing with it. So, as I said, he's investing in real estate all over America, and he's not, as opposed to investing in affordable housing right here in New York. He hasn't said anything about how ICE is targeting our community, other vulnerable New York communities, immigrants who are the backbone of America, of New York and America. Hasn't said anything. You know, one example I give is that he has a huge stock position through the pension fund in Tesla.
Wow.
At the same time, Elon Musk was on drugs in Washington with a chainsaw, going after public workers, you know, talking about and making terrible decisions that were killing people overseas. You know, his whole initiative is now out of the news, but it was a total reckless failure. Tom DiNapoli said nothing to stand up for public workers. And I'll say one other thing, Olka, which is right now the red states, Texas and, you know, the southern states, they use their pension funds as a weapon against New York and New Jersey. And they say, oh, these companies are all out of control. And they criticize our CEOs and our companies. And in New York and New Jersey, we don't do anything to fight back. And with me as this New York State Comptroller, because of everything you said, New York is the cultural center of America. And because we will, you know, because of the role of the financial markets, the New York State Comptroller should be the natural organizer and national leader of these pension funds. And I'm going to do that.
Yes, that would be very, very good. So now tell me in the end, like, how can our vibrant South Asian community support you?
Well, you're so very kind. You know, if the community right now could obviously spread the word and let them know, go to rajgoyle.com. That's rajgoyle.com. My website is there. Of course, I'm on social media, on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok. And to spread the word among the community in New York State. It's a huge state, you know, so it's not just the 5 boroughs of New York City. It's Long Island, it's upstate, it's Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, Ithaca. You know, my mom and dad left Delhi and in India in 1970 and moved to Rochester. My older brother was raised in Rochester. We then spent, you know, decades in the Midwest. And then one thing I should say before I go, Olka, the thing I'm most proud of in my life, and I think the community would like to know this, is that 10, 15 years ago when my wife and I and my then just 1-year-old baby, my older daughter, we moved to New York City, my parents were alone. And so at ages 79 and 72, my dad and my mom, we moved them to New York City. And so they became Manhattanites, and they took the subway and learned Spanish. And my father worked until he was 86. And then we very, very sadly lost him a few years ago. And then we moved Monica's parents from Orange County. She's a New Yorker her whole life. She was raised in Orange County, a daughter of public school teachers. They live on our block, and we sadly lost my father-in-law a couple of years ago. We missed them horribly. But, you know, we lived in a joint family. We basically, Monica and I, created a joint family in Lower Manhattan.
That is the best way to live. I love that Indian culture back home. And you know, we never felt like who is who over there. Everybody was your people, right? You don't know how many brothers and sisters, and so it was
cousin, brothers, cousins, sisters, aunties, uncles. Yeah, of course.
If somebody asks you how many brothers, sisters you have, you just count everybody, and you know, you tell them that number.
Well, also one thing, you know, I never really knew my grandparents. In fact, I really never even met them properly, and that's because of immigration, because my parents, you know, financial. My parents didn't have the money when we were growing up, and then we got so busy. And so what's the fact that my daughters were raised with all 4 grandparents And, you know, one thing I say is they didn't even say hello to my father when he walked in the apartment, not because they were being rude, because there was no reason to say hello. He was around all the time.
Yes.
and
but that
so,
blessing
you know,
they have, and you are blessed to have them around your children. You know, the values they learn.
So blessed.
The values they learned when they were present, that is the root.
That is the root. That is, you know, it doesn't matter what happens in business or politics for me. You know, my soul is at peace because, you know, I was able to serve my parents, continue to serve my mother and my mother-in-law, and to give that to my daughters, whatever happens with them. You know, that's the thing I'm most pleased with that's happened in our lives. And, you know, on the campaign, of course, we're fighting like a dog to make sure that this office works for the New Yorkers, to give them the better life they deserve. Times are hard, and the government and these offices should be leaning in to help them. So if you can spread the word at rajgoyle.com, obviously we'll take anybody's financial support as well. I should say quickly that in New York State, there's a really clever matching program. So if you give $200 to the campaign, it actually becomes $1,400. That's actually a 6-to-1 match up to the first $250 for any New Yorker. That's a very powerful thing. So we'd be grateful for anyone listening to go to rajgoyle.com and volunteer, sign up to volunteer, or financially support the campaign.
Well, let me tell you, friends, if you want to go and support Raj Goyle, his website is RAJ. Goyle is spelled as GOYLE.com.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you for clarifying that. Yes, my father spelled it Goyle. You know, there's probably a million Rajiv Goyles in the world, but I'm the only Raj Goyle spelled this way.
Yes, and if you Google and you go to New York State, then you will find him there. So
yes. Thank you all.
Thank you, Raj, for coming on EBC Radio and sharing your thoughts and views and what is the future planning for you to do. And I'm really happy, and again wishing you all the best for the success.